Dear viewers, thank you for deciding to take on this journey with us. And if you have reached this episode of the Disaster Ready Church series, I think it's safe to say that you really want to make your church or place of worship disaster ready. And the past 4 episodes have taught us a lot of practical ways in becoming one.
Yes, Prabhu, and to complete our episode series, we would like to discuss one more topic under step 4, my response, and that is psychological first aid. And now, according to a study done in University of Miami, they found out that in a disaster, the size of a psychological footprint greatly exceeds the size of the medical footprint. And because of this, in a disaster, many would become more vulnerable to mental health or psychological issues.
Yes, Shaina, and often it is common that most organizations rush in to meet the physiological need, but the psychological need is often unaddressed due to many factors. Now, churches, this is your space. This is where you can make a real impact.
Shan, I'm very excited to get into the details of what you've just said, and I believe our viewers will too. This is a topic you don't want to miss. Only here on
ADRA TV.
Everyone, what a journey it has been with all of you. And now we are down to our last episode. Let me first thank everyone involved in this wonderful production. Our Hope Channel South Philippines team. You guys have been really great to work with. Thank you so much. And also the ADRA Australia family for supporting and allowing me to come here and exchange learning with the ADRA Philippines team on Disaster Ready Church. As well as them, our ADRA Asia family, who is represented by Prabuk, and all our viewers. The whole experience will be totally unforgettable for me.
Yes, KJ. And finally, we praise God for the blessings that we have experienced with this program so far. But now let's jump into the discussion for today, psychological first aid. Let's now repeat the 4 steps together in becoming a disaster-ready church, shall we?
Yes.
My church, my community, my team, and my response.
We have been repeating these 4 steps more than 10 times already. And I hope our churches, even in our dreams, we will say, my church, my community, my team, and my response. And everybody, today, let us start our conversation on PFA with a true story. So this is a true story. And I met a woman in one of our ADRA disaster responses last year. And the woman that I met, her name was Mylene. And she agreed also that I can share this story to everybody. So last year here in the Philippines, around November, Typhoon Paeng hit the community of Mylene here in Mindanao. So the day before the landfall, so her community was warned of flooding. So everybody was like, oh, you have to evacuate, you have to move out, you have to be careful because of the flooding. But unexpectedly, the mountain just behind their community would cause a landslide. Okay, so the landslide covered more than 200 households, and including Mylene's home and her families and relatives and, community members that she was with. So tragically, Mylene, that night, in just one night, she lost her mother, her dad, her brother-in-law, and nephew, and sadly, because during that night while they were evacuated, she was holding her 1-year-old baby. And then when the landslide came, and then she just woke up in the midst of mud, dirt, debris, wood, and her baby was nowhere to be found. So this is one sad story.
Sean, the story was so heartbreaking, and this is just one of the many stories we hear during disasters. Based on this story, a lot has changed in the lives of Mylene. Unexpectedly, she lost her house, things in their house, so Mylene is now homeless. And unexpectedly, she lost 5 of her family members. Now Mylene is grieving.
And I guess she's also lost her community because it's been destroyed, right? Mylene would have been overwhelmed with the destruction. I can't even imagine what she's gone through in one night, in the normal course of her everyday life. But everything all of a sudden has just been put to a stop.
And as we all know, disasters are mostly unpredictable, leaving many of its survivors in a state of shock, right? And for Mylene, she experienced something she had never encountered before. She experienced feelings that she has never felt before.
And yes, and when this happens, this can result in what we call psychological distress.
Let's just get this straight out. The difference between stress and distress. Stress is a state of pressure, of strain that takes place in many different situations. It can be caused by any change, positive or negative, but stress is an important part of everyday life. It is positive when it makes a person perform well, for example, in a test or exam. However, stress can also be negative and lead to distress and crisis.
Now, this leads us to the next word, distress. What we just mentioned, psychological distress. So distress is when someone is unable to cope with or adapt to the challenges or situation they are facing. So distress leads to physical and emotional discomfort and even suffering. Now, it can be caused by one-off crisis event or from stress building up over time. And guys, also, we call these stress events traumatic events. Why? Because this can be like the person may experience trauma because these events is emotionally disturbing, like the overwhelming amount of things that they have to feel and experience. This is also life-threatening. They leave traces in our minds, emotions, and even in our capacity for joy and intimacy, and even our biology and immune systems.
So does this mean, Shan, that aside from providing the survivors physical needs like food and water, there is another need that not everyone gets to see directly, and that is the psychological need?
Yes, based on the University of Miami mentioned in their study, they found out that in a disaster, the size of the psychological footprint greatly exceeds the size of the medical footprint. And because of this, in a disaster, many would become more vulnerable to mental and health and psychological issues.
Yes, and according to that study, simply we can put it this way, aside from hunger, thirst, and cold, many are experiencing at the same time different kinds of distress reactions like confusion, fear, anxiety, hopelessness, helplessness, and some could even start to question their beliefs.
Yes, Shan, that's so true, because we have come across people who question God also. They ask questions like, where is God in all of this, right? They sometimes try to rationalize and say, am I being punished for something that I did? Is it my sin that caused this event? Or is it because of my own sin that I have now lost my family?
And like guilt comes in, shame, and all those negative emotions as well.
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic, and I want to jump right into what actually is PFA.
Yes, KJ. Since we have been doing training on PFA here in the Philippines and Asia, here's a definition that for me is easy to understand. This is a definition by Stacy Colino, and she beautifully put like this definition on PFA. So it's like regular first aid. PFA is a way of helping someone in pain, except rather than cleaning or bandaging a cut or applying ice to a sprained ankle, you tend to someone's anxiety or distress in a way that will ease and help restore a sense of equanimity.
Okay, so it's just like medical first aid, but here we tend to someone's unseen or psychological wounds and help calm the person. But Shan, I'm not a psychologist. Can I do this?
Well, KJ, just like medical first aid, anyone can do it, right? As long as you have received the training. Even if you are not a nurse or you're not a doctor, you can provide medical first aid. And so since Prabhu has been trained also, Prabhu, care to share with us what PFA is not? Let's talk about what PFA is not first.
Yes, teacher. And just so that the viewers know, Chantel has been my trainer. So let's see whether I passed the test. Okay, so let's first go through what PFA is not, right? So PFA is not something only professionals do.
So that's one of the many questions that we always get whenever we do the workshops and trainings. They ask, we're not psychologists, we haven't taken like master's degree or bachelor's degree in psychology, so that's okay. As long as you have been trained, you can do PFA. So it's not only for professionals.
Right. So this is something that I really didn't know, and I was surprised when you first shared this with us, right? So the second one is PFA is not professional counseling or therapy.
Yes.
There's a difference there, right?
Yes. And then that's highly like connected to the first statement that PFA is not for like mental health professionals only, because this is not professional counseling or therapy. Now we have like esteemed individuals who can do counseling and therapy. It's another level of psychological assistance. More complex though, and they deal with issues that us normal, like who haven't done the training that they had, we won't be able to address the needs of the survivors or individuals who has gone through like for example, who has been diagnosed with mental health disorders. So this is very important. We are not taking the place of counselors or psychologists. We're like more of a support system.
Okay. Okay, right. So the third one is, as long as you undergo the training, you can do PFA. So can we safely say that our viewers can go through this episode and get started on providing PFA support?
Yeah, I believe so. As long as, I mean, we're already starting the conversation, and then we will be also giving them like
a little bit more resources.
Yes,
right? Okay.
Especially the application from AdraTouch, and then they can start. I mean, one thing about PFA, yes, there's this desire to apply it and do it for others, like in disaster responses. But one thing about this is we can actually do this even in our homes.
Right. So it's a more practical approach that is not only relevant during the disaster setting. A family member or a friend might need it also, right?
Yes, I've always approached and tell people, be creative in PFA. You can actually do this also even in daily living, in your relationships, and it can powerfully impact the quality of our relationships.
Right. Okay. Very good. Let's go to the fourth one. PFA is not analyzing what has happened or pressing someone for details on what happened.
Yes, sir. So we have to be very careful. Have you had a wound?
Yes.
Yes. Many times. Sometimes you get a cut, right?
Correct.
And then when it starts to heal, it heals by its own self, right? And then it tries to, it's not bleeding anymore and all. So PFA, since we do not have the training for higher psychological assistance, we have to be very careful if we try to dig and analyze and ask for details, like we're trying to dig the wound that this person has.
Right.
So when it's healing already, and then here we come, we try to dig it up, we try to ask for details, and we don't know what to do about it.
Okay.
And so that's more damaging.
Right. So number 5, PFA is not pressuring people to share their feelings and reactions to an event.
Yes, and that's highly...
not pressurizing.
Yes, not pressurizing. If they would share it to us, then that would be lovely. But if not, then we move forward to the other steps of PFA. Now, Shaina, would you like to share with us, that was what PFA is not. How about what PFA is then?
To answer that question, Sean, PFA is comforting someone in distress and helping them feel calm.
So allowing them to feel calm. That's very important.
And then second, PFA is assessing someone's needs and concerns. And then third, PFA is protecting people from further harm. Number 4 is PFA is providing emotional support. And then fifth, PFA is helping to address immediate basic needs such as food, water, blanket, or a temporary place to stay. And lastly, PFA is helping someone access information, services, and social support.
Now, as we go through the what PFA is not and what PFA is, what do you feel about this, KJ?
I was a little surprised at the second last one about that it is actually helping solve some of those practical problems as well. Like I was thinking it was all going to be just about thoughts and feelings, but no, like part of calming them down is actually helping the immediate needs.
Yes. And some say that we also deal, for example, if they need food and water at that time, that's actually PFA already. That's part of the whole package. So now we have to remember that PFA, for all of us church members that are following these episodes, there are only 4 goals, and we stick to the 4 goals only. It's not complicated.
Yes.
First, we want to promote safety. Physically, since we're talking about primarily disaster responses, we want to make sure the person is safe. If the person is not safe, then we try to move the person into safety. And also second, calm and comfort. We have been mentioning that already. Third is connectedness. Through psychological first aid, we're communicating to the person, oh, you're not alone with what you're going through. Yes, this overwhelming amount of problems and stress that you have right now, if you face this alone, this may be really hard for you. But hey, there are people who cares. And fourth, self-empowerment. And I love this goal, self-empowerment. A lot of times, our disaster survivors, they feel like as you have mentioned, Prabhu, disasters come unexpectedly. And it's like, oh, we did not really have a choice on this. But through self-empowerment, there's this kind of helping them that they feel like, I can still make choices. I can choose to move forward in life, and there are things that I can still choose to do for me and my family and my community.
Right.
That reminds me of going back to the code of conduct and how we involve survivors in the decisions that are made. I guess that's, linking into that self-empowerment part too.
Yes.
Yeah. But I have a question. Does everyone need PFA?
Yes, I will answer that with yes.
And a no.
And a no. So, elderlies, adults, children, adolescents, first responders, even us, ADRA staff, when we go to the field and we respond, or our church members, we might need psychological first aid. However, it is very important for us to not assume that everybody who has gone through a disaster will need PFA. Some are resilient, some are strong, some can really handle this amount of stress, and they can move forward with life and go on by themselves. But there are people who cannot, and that's where we enter, especially the vulnerable ones. We have to make sure we see them.
Okay, so now then the big question really is, how do we do this PFA?
Yeah, so you have mentioned a while ago that, we have a lot of not to do and with PFA, but actually everybody, you will just have to remember 3 L.
3 Ls.
3 Ls.
Okay.
Look,
Look,
listen, and link.
look, listen, and link.
Again, can we say it together? The 3 Ls of PFA?
Look, listen, and link.
Okay, so just 3. That sounds doable. Okay, now guys, what do you think?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want me to come in with what look
Yes,
is? Okay.
of course.
Okay, so under look, and please help me out here. Okay, so this is, I have not really sat and done PFA, but I've gone through the training. So under look, our first priority is to ensure the safety in the environment, right? So, and I remember the times when I took the medical first aid trainings. One of the first things that you would do is to make sure that you are not exposed to any more threats from the external environment. So it's the same here, right? And then once you have made sure the place is safe, then you would assess who needs help. Okay? Can I continue?
Yes.
Okay, so then you would assess who needs help to check for physical injuries and emotional reactions. Through that, you will identify who needs help. Then you start to find more information on what has actually happened and assess the immediate basic needs first. We recommend that all of us receive trainings on medical first aid, which is very important, I would say, even in the process of providing psychological first aid, right?
Yes. This step is very important, Prabhu, Kelly, and Shaina, because most of the time we are very eager to let's go there and let's help and let's do PFA. But before we dive into and encounter or talk to somebody, we have to check first the premises, as mentioned by Prabhu. We have to be good observants. And also we have to take note have you mentioned that the physical injuries should come in first, be prioritized before we go into and ask how they feel and we go to the listening part. Because some individuals, when they're so distressed, they do not notice or they cannot notice. They feel numb and they notice that they have wounds and all of this. So the PFA facilitator should see that, should ask that question. Okay.
And now let's go to listen. Listening is the heart of PFA. If we do this right, we will be able to calm the person and we will find out that what the person immediately really needs. KJ, how do you usually calm others when they are in distress?
You know, Sheena, I haven't really thought so much about the how until now. I try to listen to them and make them feel like whatever they're feeling is okay, because you sort of need that when you're upset, to know that what you're feeling is okay.
Yes, and that's listening. So in PFA, as mentioned by Shaina, this is the heart of PFA, the listening part. This is where we take our time also. As you have mentioned, we have to be present, not just by saying, oh, I'm here to listen to you. You have to make that be an experience for your survivor. It does not just end with saying things and telling them, oh, I want to help you and that. Sometimes we say things that we don't actually really mean. So we have to be very careful. So our facial expression is very important. Our body language, the way we move around our disaster, our eye contact. I tell young people this, that whenever somebody is courting you, be very careful if they're not looking in your eyes when they're saying things. I mean,
they're not serious,
right?
Thank you. You're bringing in very practical examples, right? Okay.
Yes. I
continue.
mean, if the person really is serious about what he or she is saying, he will really look you into the eyes, right? And the tone of our voice, and we have to choose our words carefully. Sometimes we have to repeat things because these individuals, they're like lost, okay? And they're trying to figure out how to solve things in one snap. So we have to be patient with them. So the goal here in listening is we want them to feel heard. Thus, this is no time for preaching also. And that is how we would remind people, this is not about your story. This is about the other person's story. Sometimes it's so tempting. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. I lost a loved one too, and look, I'm fine. So we have to avoid saying those things because at the end of the day, it's different for all of us. So we want to communicate to them that they are not alone with what they're going through and that there is hope through our presence and our support.
Okay, so we've done the first two L's.
Yes.
We've done look and listen, and the last one is link. Am I right? So is linking about referring people to other organizations or support services that can help them?
That's actually correct, you know. So there are complex situations that will require us to refer the person to a psychological institute or a hospital so that they can receive further care. There will be some situations where you will be able to identify and say that they need more help. And some examples could be if the survivor is having sleeping problems, right? So if they have not slept for many days and nights, it could actually lead to physical and psychological problems. It could affect their moods and their daily routines. So this is very serious. There might be also cases where the survivor experiences flashbacks, where they feel that they have gone back to that event again and re-experience this, the negative emotions. And in that case, these are actually signs of even moving into mental illness. And we need to link them with more experienced people who can handle them.
Yeah.
There are also harmful coping methods like self-medicating with drugs or alcohol, becoming violent or aggressive, or keeping oneself completely apart from other people. Also, self-harm and suicide. It is important to always take someone who threatens to harm or kill him or herself seriously and not leave the person alone till more help arrives.
Yeah, so as psychological first aid facilitators, we have limitations. And so it's very important for us to see our limitations and to notice different reactions that are complex. Like for example, our survivor is in a complex situation or like they're having complex reactions and we cannot take those then that's the part wherein, okay, we have to admit this and we'd like to tell to our survivor, would you like to talk to someone who can actually provide further help? And also we have to always I'll just say this, we have to always ask permission. That's where the self-empowerment comes in. We have to allow our survivors to actually decide for themselves also.
So let me say once more again what I heard you say about the signs, because they're kind of important. If we're a church member, thinking about how we could provide psychological first aid, how do we know when we might be out of our depth and need to pass it on to someone else? You mentioned sleeping problems. What were the other ones again?
Flashbacks.
Self-harm or suicidal thoughts, and there was something else you said, I forget now.
I think the harmful coping.
Okay, coping mechanisms that are unhealthy, like alcohol and substances. Yeah, okay.
Yes, and that's the reason why, especially in churches, when we hear of a young person, oh, he's always drinking, he's like that. I think this will also open the minds of our church members. So what if that young person is going through or has just gone through a traumatic event and he cannot cope up with the negative feeling and he doesn't know how to live after that event, and so he ends up drinking alcohol or drugs. And I hope this will make us more compassionate when we see people like doing that, and we tend to, oh, that's a bad behavior, you should change it. Also maybe they need more help than how we see things.
So true.
So Shan and Prabhuk, I'm wondering if you might be able to sort of show us more of what this look and listen and link, is like. For instance, when you go to a disaster scene, how do you know, for instance, someone is traumatized and how do you respond to them?
Yeah, sure. I think we can.
I'm sorry, Prabhuk, but I will not be able to do this with you, sir.
Really?
Yes, because Kelly, we would highly suggest, as much as possible, it should be male to male and female to female. Because sometimes, in situations like this, we get so vulnerable and we might get, the emotions and the affection from the other person. We want to avoid that. And also cultural differences. A lot of culture, especially in Asia, we do not recommend seeing a man with a woman and that's not her husband or wife. So
Yes.
I'll have to go with you then.
Okay,
Let's do
good
it.
point. Yeah, I'm happy to be involved. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go.
Okay, so Shan, imagine we've just come into an evacuation center, and the people here they've lost their homes, and you're looking around. How do you know which people actually need PFA?
Yeah, so first for the 3 Ls of psychological first aid, the look, listen, link, we have to do the look first. So we have to check on people, especially the vulnerable ones. First, the elderlies, women who's pregnant, they're vulnerable also. Elderlies, individuals who have special needs, okay, and children or individuals who are sick also. So relatively, you will see them in evacuation centers. Now, additional to that, we have to check their emotional state. Are they disoriented, disconnected, or hysterical, crying a lot, or shouting, panicking, or individuals who's just at the corner and staring blankly. So as psychological first aid facilitators, we have to take our time and observe. Now, most of the time, they would go to us. Yes, like people would be like, if that would happen to us and when we enter as a team to do psychological first aid or we're there to extend help, people will actually go to you and ask for help. So here, we will prioritize them also. Okay. Now, first, as we make contact with them, trust starts with exchange of names. So as psychological first aid facilitators, we have to introduce ourselves. No, this may not be the ideal position at first, but sometimes we just be, hi, I'm Shan, and I work for ADRA, or if you're a community volunteer, like from the church. Hi, I'm Shan. I'm from a church nearby, and I'm volunteering, and we're here to check how we can help you. That's a very safe statement. We should not say we're here to help you, because that's giving them an impression that whatever problem they have, you will be like a genie in a bottle and you will give everything. So we're here to see how, in what way we can help you. And then they start to give our names also. Now, if they're not sitting down or you're standing up, you can ask the person, is it okay if we move here and we can sit down so that we can talk? And then always ask for permission. Ask them to, is it okay to move here? And then if they say yes, then we move there also. Now, what in the examples that I gave, what emotional state would you like to pick on, and then we can work on that?
Okay, let me think. You said they might be hysterical, they
Disoriented,
might be disorientated,
confused, staring blankly.
Okay, so imagine I am just staring blankly.
Okay, so and then I introduce myself to you, and then we're sitting down. Now, we have to remember, once individuals are in this state, it's so hard to talk to them sometimes. So we have to break the bubble that they're in. And that's where, this is where the grounding technique comes in.
Okay.
In the Philippines, we normally command people what to feel. Like, oh, don't cry anymore, don't panic. Don't be hysterical. Just be calm, just be calm. So we have to avoid that.
Okay.
Do not command people what to feel, because our feelings are only results of what we actually are thinking. So we have to move up, then down. Down with the feelings. So we have this, and then in the Philippines, we say like, oh, calm down. And when we give them water and they choke. Because we like all of a sudden like that. So this is what we do as psychological first aid facilitators. Like, we know better. I would ask you, if you're like staring blankly, I would say, Kelly, is it okay if you sit here, and would you like to follow what I do so that you'd feel, I hope this would make you feel more better. So I'd ask you, can you follow me? Can you mirror what I do? Can you breathe in 4 times in 4 counts? and then hold, and then breathe out. And then breathe in again, 4 counts, and hold, and breathe out. Sometimes, most of the times, they'd feel calm already, but it won't work and all. So we ask them to, Kelly, can you tell me 3 things that you see around you right now?
I can see our wonderful Hope Channel here. I can see some cameras. I can see you.
Oh, thank you. And or some people who are in distress, they cannot answer immediately because their thoughts are like filling in with all that that happened, and they'd be really having hard time answering us. Now, after that, I can also, because this is like awakening the senses, to redirect them to this conversation first, okay? So I can ask you also, Kelly, can you tell me 3 things that you hear? What do you hear? It's really quiet here.
It's really silent.
It'd be really hard. I think that would be my voice. But if we're outside, people say, oh, I hear the birds, I hear the trees. And then lastly, we ask them also, Kelly, can you touch my hand? Is it okay if you touch my hand? What do you feel? Or you get an object, like it's a smooth object or a rough object, and you ask them, can you feel this? What do you feel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the whole point here is to redirect the attention of the survivor to us, to this moment, to this conversation. So it's not necessarily that you do all 3, the hearing, the seeing, and the touch. Sometimes they do get calm with the breathing exercises, and that's it. Now, when they're calm, we can start talking with them, and then I can then ask. There are no like questions that I can give, but the principle is like I can ask you like, Kelly, what happened? Can you tell me what happened during the typhoon, or how are you feeling right now? So those things, I can ask those questions, and then eventually you'd be sharing up things. So PFA takes like around 45 minutes to an hour. And then after that, I'll have to remember. I can have a partner to write the things, because I can also ask like, what are your immediate needs right now, Kelly? And then maybe we have to direct them to immediate needs. Some would say, oh, I need my house repaired.
Yeah. Okay.
Or can you give me a house and lot? So that would be really hard to address. But okay, how about now, Kelly? What do you need now? And so they start saying things, or, oh, I forgot. I have to remember this. You have to ask them also, are you feeling anything in your on your body?
You mean like pain?
Yes,
Okay,
pain.
yeah.
Do you have any wounds? Because some survivors, they get numb and they don't feel anything, and some are bleeding already.
Right.
And if there's bleeding, if there's something that needs medical attention, then we skip the listening part and we link Kelly immediately to a hospital or to a professional doctor or nurse. And going back to the listening part, so we just ask you about how you feel and what are your needs right now. So we discourage that you use a paper or a pen, because sometimes it,
Puts a barrier?
It puts a barrier. Right. So, and then we suggest that we talk in a way like this. So, facilitators should not be like, so what are you feeling? And like, what are you feeling right now? So the body posture is very important. So we have to be open, eye contact, the voice, the tone. If you're panicking, I should be calming, because you will mirror what I am doing also.
Right.
And in listening, we can use 5 strategies to make sure that you know that I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, tell me about them.
So we have mirroring, we have paraphrasing, reflecting, summarizing, and clarifying. So mirroring, can you tell me a story?
Once upon a time, I went on a trip to the Philippines.
Oh, so,
Yes, and while I was here, there was a typhoon.
Oh, so there was a typhoon?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And I was on a small island in the central Philippines, and I knew it was coming, and the boat was going to take too long to get to the next island, and I was really afraid.
So you were in a boat, so that's clarifying.
Yeah, I was in the boat.
And then we can also summarize what you said. So you were in the central Philippines and there was a typhoon. So I can do that also. So we can use mirroring. I can repeat what you've just said, paraphrasing. I can say things in my own words, clarifying. I can just ask questions, and that's self-explanatory. And then summarize everything and reflect. So reflecting is very important. You have not stated it, but maybe that's how I feel with what you stated. Did you, I can ask the question, were you afraid during that time where you're in the Philippines and that there was a typhoon coming?
Yeah, I would be if I was in a boat in the Philippines in a typhoon, yeah.
So these 5 techniques, this is a way that we can use these 5 techniques to make sure that you know that I'm listening.
Right.
Because in listening, what's important is what you're experiencing. Because this is not about my story. This is about your story. And so I should not be advising. There's time for that. I'm here. I will listen to you. And after that, if there are things that you're sharing that you have to be linked to a professional, that's where I ask you, Kelly, would you like to talk to someone who can help you or support you with this? I know somebody. Would you like for me to go with you? And that's how psychological first aid really works.
Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we've got to look, got to listen, and then we've got to link them. But if there's anything in terms of their physical first aid that needs attention, skip all that, get them straight to medical help first.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Kelly, for doing this with me. And now, everybody, I'd like to pass it on to Prabhu.
Thank you, Shan and KJ, for acting it out and showing us how actually you can provide PFA to a survivor. Just since we are now closing up this episode, I want to emphasize a few things. Number one, there is an application that you can download on your mobile devices. It's called ADRA Touch. We'll put a picture of it on the screen right now. This was developed by ADRA in South America. It's a really nice training program that you can actually download the app and follow through. When you download it, please make sure to select the language, the English language, as the medium of instruction. I also want to leave behind the PFA. I want to more or less encourage churches to pick up this PFA and mainstream it in your emergency responses. And this is more or less my key takeaways from today. Shaina, how about you?
Yeah, a lot of people during disasters do not need only physical needs to survive, but they need also someone who could just listen to their traumatic experience. PFA is one powerful support where church can help those who are in distress, giving them hope by just being there and acknowledging their emotions.
Thanks, Shaina.
Yeah, I'm just realizing how important this psychological first aid really is. And there are a lot of people in our churches in Australia who think, oh, I can't get involved in disaster response because it's all about, physical activities and things that, those who are a bit older can't get involved in. But, anyone can listen to someone's story, and so you can have a really positive impact.
Yes, and personally also, there's a lot that we can talk to. We usually do PFA trainings and it runs around a day and so, but the ADRA Touch really helps. And then I hope and I pray that, I do imagine, I can really visualize churches doing this and the impact, the recovery and the recovery phase of our community. So guys, thanks. What a journey it has been. That's a song. What a journey. And to our audience, thank you very much. Before we end this series, again, we would like to invite everyone to be
Disaster Ready Church.
And to be a disaster ready church, your ADRA family is here to help you. That's why we don't want you to miss, watching any of these episodes.
Yeah.
Please share them with your friends. And thank you so much again to the Hope Channel team here at the Philippines and the ADRA Philippines team. It's been really great to work with you.
Thank you also to ADRA Australia and to all the ADRA angels who have been behind ADRA Philippines Disaster Ready Church program.
Again, everyone, it was great to have you with us here on
ADRA TV.